George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation, celebrating people we feel good about. Boy, we feel good about this next, brother. Dr. Ish is your go-to voice when it comes to love, healing, and mental health. For folks who don't know your story, you are the man, right? And they might know you from Marriage Boot Camp. They might know you from Council Culture. But you know what? They might also know you as a friend of George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation. We won't hold it against him that he stepped in early on 1911 and couldn't wait till November 1911. We ain't gonna hold that against him. But
listen, everybody loves candy canes. Come on, man.
Come on. But Dr. Ish is the psychiatrist to the stars, whether you're healing from heartbreak, whether it's finding love after 40, 50, or even 60, Dr. Ish is the man. And we appreciate you, Doc. And you got some really good stuff going on. And I'm so glad that you decided to take a minute out of your life.
Always, man. Always. Always. Good to see you, man. Thanks for having me back on.
So I remember the first time we met where you had your book, Little White Lies, the lies the guys tell and why. And that's how we connected. How many years ago was that book?
And that's probably been over 10 years ago now.
How about
check that out.
And so for those people that, and we've talked about this a lot, but I don't know if we ever talked about how you became this little guy, this nerdy guy from South Carolina, how you became the psychiatrist to the stars and a relationship go-to guy. And let me do this before I get you to answer that question. Let me just say to you that I did not realize that you recently lost your dad. And so I just wanted to offer love and condolences to you and your family. I know family was very, very important to you. And you and I have talked through the loss of your mom and now your dad. So even before you answer that, I just wanted to give you space to recognize the impact that your father had on your life.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I think my image is blurred, but he was in the service, so I got his flag that they presented at the funeral right behind me, man. It's interesting. He lived to be 90 years old. Him and my mom were together for 56 years. We lost her over 10 years ago. But in going back, and I gave his eulogy at the funeral, which was, of all the things I've ever done in life, that was absolutely the hardest thing I'd ever done. And writing it up to that point was so therapeutic for me. So I write a few words and I cry my eyes out. Write a few words, cry my eyes out. I was just trying to figure out how I'm going to get through. How do I get through that day? But it was so healing for me because I got a chance to just go over this man's life from childhood to a young man. And he was, my dad was in the Army. He was a very stoic, strong dude, no emotion. He grew up in the Jim Crow South during Jim Crow. Had to drop out of school in the 6th grade to sharecrop with his dad, where they both made George $7 a week. Right? His dream was to grow up and be a math teacher. He loved math. He loved numbers. And so once he got out of the service, he became a carpenter, and that allowed him to flip numbers in his head all day and work with numbers like that. But he was just a very closed off human, right? Dismissive, grew up in that time, very, he's not a lovey-dovey, touchy-feely kind of guy. My dad was that dude, he's the strong guy standing guard at the gate. But once my mom passed away, he changed. He comes downstairs, George, I'll never forget a quick story. He comes downstairs, I'm sitting at the table writing my mom's eulogy, and we all just don't know how we're going to move on. He comes down with a box, George, and in this box are about 20 to 25 old letters that him and her wrote to each other when they were in their teens in South Carolina, before he went to Alaska and got drafted, before she went to New York with her sisters, before they got engaged, before they got married and starting their life together. And they were talking about how much they loved each other and the kind of life they wanted to have together. And the letters, the language was so flowery. It was like, my dearest darling, I can't wait to see you again and be in your arms. And I'm just like, and he gives me these letters, and I'm like, you big softy, you've been fooling us this whole time. You had all this love in your heart and all these things that were close to you, but he kept it close to the vest, man. So as that happens, you wake up one morning and both of your parents are gone, it really helps you prioritize some things that are important in life. And so as I'm thinking about what they had, I'm like, yeah, that's really something I want. And it also just reconfirms, hey, this thing goes by fast, man. It's a quick ride.
So so is that what you have?
That's not what I have, but that's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. And I think his passing solidified that for me, or as we say in psych, it crystallized that for me. Right. I'm sure about that now, because it was such a powerful thing that I'm able to look back over their life and what it meant to each other and to us as their kids. I'm like, yeah, that's right. We grew up privileged. Now, great mistake. I grew up poor, broke, right? No money in the middle of the small town of South Carolina, but we had two parents who were intelligent and were committed and were dedicated to raising kids to go out in the world and do something. And so in that respect, I feel like I grew up privileged, because a lot of folks can't say that. And so that's just a cool thing when you look back over your life to be able to say that you were a part of, and I definitely want that for sure.
And so you parlay that background to now becoming the psychiatrist to the stars. You can name drop if you want. I mean, maybe you can. But you come from that to the, you're on the Today Show and you're hanging out with Nick Cannon on the Apple Podcast, to wherever you get your podcast, right? YouTube, whatever. And so, how do you see that transition? And you're a board certified psychiatrist, named one of America's top psychiatrists. So how do you get from that to be the relationship guru to the stars?
You believe you can. Right? My dad had a talk with me the day before I started kindergarten. He was like, let's go for a ride. So I'm hopping in the truck and I'm like, where are we going? And he unleashed on me what I felt like at that time was anger. I was like, why is he mad? And he was telling me what I could go out in the world and do and what I could go out in the world and be and how not to let anything stop me. And there's no reason why I couldn't do it. You can be the first this, the first that. And at one point, I'm 5, right? I'm starting kindergarten. And I'm looking at him like, what's happening, bro? What's going on? And it was like, is he mad? Is it? And years later, I would realize he wasn't angry at all. He was just scared.
Because you were the only son.
The youngest son.
Baby
boy, but he knew what he went through. And he knew we were growing up and he knew what was out there, And he wanted to make sure that what happened to him didn't happen to me. And so it was, they instilled in us just the power of belief, it's not about where you're from. It's not about what the balance in your bank account says. Do you have an emotional balance in your heart, in your head? What is that intelligence balance, right? And you can go out there and you have something to offer and don't let anybody tell you any different. And so we all just believed that we could go do stuff. We believed that we belonged, which it sounds like a small thing, but it's really kind of everything.
Yeah. Talking with Dr. Itch Major, you can hear him on Council Culture with Nick Cannon, talking about, you've done several episodes. How many seasons now?
So, man, season 1 is streaming now on Amazon Prime for sure. And we talk about everything, man. It's like The View, but all guys. We talk about grief and loss. We talk about, obviously, depression. And trying to how do guys have those vulnerable grown man conversations? We talk about dating. Is it different in your 20s and your 30s? And how does it look after 40 and after 50, right? We talk about talk about sex, talk about all these things. And so, yeah, it's just cool conversations from a guy's point of view. Now, you may not agree with all of it, which is good, right? But it always gives us something to think about.
So a lot of people might recognize you from all the interviews you've done, but also from Marriage Boot Camp. What's some things that they don't see that's behind the scene that really speaks to you?
You know what they don't see behind the scenes when we're doing shooting the reality stuff is the amount of therapy we're doing all day long, man. It's a 13-hour day, right? And we're shooting, cameras rolling 13 hours a day, all day long. But when we're not on camera, I've got somebody in the room, man. We're doing one-on-one therapy work, and it's like a real thing just to get them able to get back out there and do it because it's hard, right? And not something, if we're talking about the hip hop versions, it's not something that Black folks are very comfortable with. It's not something that a lot of Black folks do, right? We're doing more of it now, and we know that it's okay. But when it comes to the brothers behind the scenes, some of the work that it takes to get them to be able to show up and just talk about some of these things. Hey, can you talk about the dad who wasn't there? Can you talk about, right, being jealous and why, right? It's just the surreal thing. You got some of the biggest rappers that we know talking about, hey, I get insecure when she's out with her girls because, you think I'm this, but I'm really just kind of human. And so those are some of the really human things that that go on behind the scenes that sometimes translates and you get to see on camera, but a lot of times it doesn't. But I think the biggest takeaways for me when I work, no matter how bright the star is, they're just human, man. And they got the same things they worry about, the same insecurities, the same things that hurt you and me hurt them. They've got parents they've lost. They've been violated in some way. They're worried about not being enough for their man or their woman. All those same things that connect all of us,
So you telling me they fronting?
I'm saying they are really serious about the fronting, but once you get them to a space where they can be vulnerable, it's a really cool thing.
And some people are able to translate that through their art, right? Yeah. It comes out in the songs. It may not be in the one-to-one. I was having this conversation. You talk about that it's harder for the fellows. And I was having a conversation not long ago where someone who's had their share of trauma and didn't think therapy, like their attitude was, well, I pray, I've got a loving, supportive partner, and I don't need that. It just seems like I just don't need that. And so, and is that something you hear a lot of? And why should someone consider it if they've experienced some level of trauma because a lot of people think, Jesus is enough. And I'm thinking, yeah, but he also licensed psychologists and psychiatrists to help you sort it out. But when someone says, I don't need that, that is a choice too, isn't it? And so how do you manage that conversation when someone says, I don't need that?
Yeah, so when I hear somebody who's been through some stuff, who are dealing with some stuff, and their view on therapy or treatment is, I don't need that, what I hear them saying is, I don't know how that's going to help me.
Or I've been through it and I don't know. It didn't really, I don't think, you know what I mean?
Yeah, either they what I hear them saying is, hey, I've tried it, it didn't work, or I'm not sure how that's going to help me at this point. And so it's hard, man. Representation matters, and when you walk into a room, you want to feel like the person across the room from you kind of knows who you are, or kind of gets who you are. It helps if you had some kind of shared life experience, right? And so it's less than 3% of the psychologists in this country are African American, and about 1.5% are psychiatrists. And so the chances of you being able to find somebody, if you're African American, you're Black, who looks like you, has some shared experience, or you feel like has a shot at getting you, right? It's rare, but it's out there. And so I always tell folks the same thing. Finding a good therapist is like dating. It's like finding your husband or your wife or your partner, right? You got to date a few folks, right? You got to kiss some frogs. You gotta go through the numbers. Same thing with finding that therapist who really gets you, who you feel like you can go in, unload those burdens, and when you walk out of that room, you walk out about 10 pounds lighter than when you walked in. Once that happens, now you understand why you need it.
I was saying, are you too old for therapy? Because this was another thing we were talking about. I was like, well, I said I'm looking for someone. What are you looking for somebody for? You too old for that. You in the fourth quarter, and you would say what?
I would say if you are 65 years old, 70 years old, and you're in a car accident and you break your leg, and when you go to the ER, Does the ER doctor look at you and say, man, you're too old for a cast?
He don't do that.
Right?
Right.
Right. It's the same thing. It's a part of you that is hurting. It's a part of you that isn't all the way healthy. It's a part of you that needs healing. And the journey never stops, right? Like I said, my dad was 90 when he passed away. There was stuff he was thinking about doing the day before he passed away, right? The journey never stops. And so why not? It's all about a constant evolving, a constant evolution. How do we evolve the lineage? How do we show up tomorrow a little bit better than we showed up today? Just 1%, right? And so it's no such thing. When I hear that person, when I hear them say, man, you're too old for that, what I hear them saying is, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I know how to get through these days the best way I can, and I don't have the bandwidth to try it any way differently.
Talking with Dr. Ish Major, relationship guru, expert, marriage boot camp. You got something cooking. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. But let's talk real talk, right? These are some stressful times for folks, right? Whether it's the volatility of the market, the politics, police community relations, police brutality is in some quarters, global drama. How can couples dealing with all of this protect their relationship energy from all the noise that's happening? And are you experiencing any of that in your practice? You run several clinics in the community, in the country, and so how is that showing up in your practice, and how do couples manage that, or are you seeing any of that stress show up at all?
Man, it's showing up not only in my practice, it's showing up in my life. I've got family members who are trying to send me clips and videos and stories every day. So you got to set boundaries. I'm like, hey guys, that's a lot, right? So here's the first thing I would tell folks to do. You got to protect yourself, because there's a lot of things happening right now. And you ran the list. Politically, we got immigration, we've got stock market, we've got money, we've got our Social Security, we got our 401ks, we've got people who of color who are no longer here as of last month because they got deported, I've got kids coming in who are tearful, scared, suicidal because my dad got deported. I'm worried about my sister who's going to, right? All of this stuff is happening. These are very real consequences. And so the first thing I would say is take a minute, press pause. If you're a couple, you're a family, whatever that unit looks like for you, be honest about how what's going on is affecting you. And then be really honest about how it's not affecting you, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that's been talked about, but are you really feeling it yet? Right now, that's going to be a different answer for everybody. But the first thing is, right, this administration is really good about scaring people and using those fear tactics, right? And if they can help you feel that, then part of what they're doing is to help you feel like you're not a part of this anymore, right? Worried about one of these big areas in your life, so you don't feel like you're truly a part of this thing, and you will be less inclined to try to be a part of it for the next election cycle. So just really take a minute and see, is it really affecting my life though? Is it, right? And if it is, now what can we do about that, right? And be honest about what you can control, right? I always say, control what you can. There are certain things that are happening right now that we don't have any control over, right? We can't control the tariffs, right? We can't control the fact that everybody's grocery prices have gone up, right? Time for us to control that was 9 months ago, but we didn't do the job. Right?
Right.
And so let's take some accountability, some responsibility for that. The time to really worry about that was 9 months ago when your cousin was saying how he's not going to vote for a woman, right? That was the time.
Right.
So now this is the time for consequences, right?
We
live in a world about balance, and we live in a world about cycles. We reap, we sow. There's winter we're in the winter now, right? This is the winter that we brought on ourselves because we didn't do our job. Right. So let's be very, very real about that. And I want you to remember this time, right? Because it's going to go up and down, right? It's not always going to be as painful and as scary and as uncertain as it is right now. And in 4 years, you're probably going to be feeling better. because you're adjusted to the circumstances, or because things have gotten a little bit better. So you're not going to remember this uncertain moment, this fearful moment, this scary moment, and you're still going to be less inclined to be involved in the cycle. So remember everything you're feeling right now and let that carry over and inspire you to action. I don't mind you worrying about stuff. I don't mind you sending me posts about what's happening and all the things you're worried about, but what are you doing about it? Are you taking action? Are you talking to somebody about it? Are we organizing? Are we going to do an Al Sharpton thing? Right? Are we going to take some action, or are we just going to sit and fret and worry about things that we can't control? What you got to do is you got to start to do some things, George, that help you feel like you are having some mastery over your life. So if you can start take some kind of action, that helps you feel better.
And I appreciate that, and I think going back to what you said, how am I going to participate or not? Because that's the first decision that you have to make. And a lot of folks aren't comfortable with the not participating part, because I don't want to be sitting in history and not having used my voice or my energy to help make a difference. And so you see a lot of people on the streets. I talk to other folks about this, where there's some things going on online where Black folk are saying, hey, I don't know if I'm going to get involved right now. Now, I don't know if that's a great strategy or not, but you've heard that.
Oh, of course. And I hear that politically, right? We heard that on November 7th.
Yeah.
We were like, hey, every Black meme on Instagram, this is Black people minding their business for the next 4 years.
Right.
That, right? But where else would we hear that? We hear that after a breakup. We hear that after somebody cheated. We hear that after a divorce. You know what? I'm gonna sit over here and mind my business, and I ain't trying to date nobody, and I'm not having to let nobody date me, right? Because the thing underneath the apathy, right? And as Black folks, we're real good at pretending we don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Really good at not letting everybody see how hurt we are, right? Mm-hmm. And nobody has had more practice than Black women.
Okay.
Nobody.
Woo.
Right? At trying to pretend that it doesn't hurt when you were teasing me about my lips and about my hips and about my hair and about my skin tone that's darker than the paper bag that I get from the grocery store, right? Nobody's had more practice at pretending not to care than Black women and us. And that means you and me also, because they're the ones who raised us, right? So what I would say is get underneath that, right? That's the mask. That's the armor. That's the protection. By all means, protect yourself and armor up, but understand what's happening underneath that, right? It's not that you don't care. It's that you're hurt. Because we got rejected and it hurts. And it's okay to say that out loud and then take a minute, right? To gather yourself. Take a minute, take a break, press pause on all that stuff, but then know that you're going to get re-involved down the road.
So for a lot of our, maybe this may be a generalized statement, right? But is it true that we always, or how true is this, that we don't always get taught how to love in our community, how to love in a healthy way, right? And so then we bring in toxic things into relationships and expect things to work out. So if we're doing that, how can we start to unlearn those things that we're bringing forward to have a new vision of what a healthy, loving relationship should look like?
Yeah. Well, you got to have a good model. You got to know what it looks like.
And if you've never seen it,
right?
Then how would you?
Right. Good question. So if you haven't seen it in your personal life, that doesn't mean you haven't seen it in life at all, right? We know some folks out there who are doing it well, or who we think are. So let's see what we can learn from that, right? Let's Google that. Let's YouTube that. Let's see what that looks like, right? Because that's one of the cool things about where we are now. It's not just about what I can see and what I can experience. I can see and experience a whole lot of things. So find somebody who you think, right, has a relationship that looks kind of cool and has something like you want it, right? I live in South Florida. On the beach on the weekends, every now and then I see an 80-year-old couple walking down the beach holding hands. I'm like, let me go ask them real quick how they got to this point, right? Because that's something we can do, right? And so yeah, we don't have it, but I think the biggest first hurdle to get over is, number one, for us, knowing that we deserve it, right?
We deserve to have a loving, healthy relationship, right?
I deserve to be loved how I want.
How I want.
I deserve that, right? I deserve to be accepted for exactly who I am. You may not like everything about Ish, right? And you're probably not, right? But we've got to get to the point where we can accept each other and say, hey, you know what? I love you, George. There's some things you do, bro, that I don't really like, but it doesn't get in the way of me loving you, right? So we have to take that same mentality into our relationships, right? You're going to fall in and out of love 20 times if you're together for 20 years, right? There are going to be some things about you that you say and you do that I don't like one bit. Matter of fact, it might even piss me off, but it never gets in the way of me loving you, right? And that's one of the big things we can do.
So, Neo.
My man. We had him on the show. Yeah.
So why don't you describe his relationship?
So I think Neo is fresh off a divorce, right? And he is experiencing the freedom that comes with being able to go out and be honest about what he wants and be honest about what he doesn't want. And so Neo is right now, last time I checked, Neo is at the place where he's like, listen, no, I don't feel like I have to lie, right? Me and Nick and Neo had a conversation off camera one time, man. And it was just the coolest thing. We were talking about the guys women pick, right? Do women like bad boy, or do they want the good guy? Because it kind of seems like y'all want the bad boy, right? So Neo has a story, Nick's got a story, I have a story about how we were such the sweet boys, George. We showed up with the candy and the flowers and the letters and the I love yous and the ho, and we all got crushed. We got smashed. We got dropped because what do the women say? Well, it just doesn't make me feel those butterflies, right? So we all have the story about being the good guy and then flipping the script and saying, well, maybe we'll try being the bad dude for a while because that seems to work a little bit better, right? And so for Neo, where Neo is, Neo's like, hey, listen, he's like, I'm not a good dude. I'm not a bad dude. I'm just Neo. And this is what's working for me right now. And if that works for you, then let's see. But if that doesn't, then that's cool too.
And what we should say is what's working for him, he's in multiple relationships simultaneously, allegedly. Well, not even allegedly, he is, right? Right?
And Neo has a lot of love to give.
So we should differentiate between what consenting adults agree to in I don't know if that's called polyamorous. I don't know what you call that, but whatever it is, it could be.
Well, I think the proper term is just non-monogamous dating.
Right? Non-monogamous dating, right? And everybody knows what it is, right?
Everybody's informed, everybody's aware. So now you can all make informed decisions. Hey, if you want to date me, you understand you're not the only person I'm dating. You're not the only person I'm in a relationship with. If you're out, I don't feel like I should have to hide that from you. And if you're cool with that, then we can rock.
But on the flip side, there are couples who have been through some mess, whether it's cheating, whether it's lying, broken trust. What's an honest first step toward healing, if it's even possible, right? Because, for some couples, you do that once to me and I'm out the door. But then there's others who have stayed in multiple, or there's some who say, I know he's doing that over there as long as he don't bring that in my house or disrespect me. And so how are those things negotiated? And so that's part one. And part two is me thinking about what you were saying about the fellas and you guys all saying you were good guys, and then you flipped, and I'm wondering if in that flipping, were you happier in the flip, which was not who you really were? So that's two big questions. I don't know what to do with this now, right? But were you happier, more successful because you got what you wanted, or was it still something empty because you couldn't be really who you were? You had to put on that mask to get this, be successful, which is, you wanted to have sex or whatever it is in that relationship. And so by flipping it, you were successful that way, but were you emptier or were you happier? Those are two big questions. So let's start with, because both of those came to my mind. So you can start with the latter first before we go to the whether you can heal after cheating, lying, and breaking the trust.
Yeah, well, look, dating is fun, right? And right, I like getting numbers. I like going on dates. I like meeting people. I like discovering who you are. All that stuff is fun. If I've got to pretend like I'm a jerk or I've got to pretend like I don't care to do it, well, that's not as fun because that's not my natural state. That's not my nature.
But we think it is, right? Because I'm getting what I want.
Right, but it's getting you some of what you want, right? But it's also getting you some of what you don't. And so the question, so for me, I can't speak for Nick, I can't speak for Neil, but for me, yes, that's the hook, right? That was the string, right? That I'm dangling in front of the cat, and let's see if you're gonna swipe and grab on. And then once you do, now I can let you see that the person behind that asshole mask isn't really all that much of a jerk. He's actually kind of a nice guy, right? And if that's your jam, then we have something that we can really build on, right? I was like that, but that was the thing. So for me, yeah, it's a lot of women find that more attractive. In their mind, it relates to some that you're more masculine, that you're more manly, and we are hardwired. Women are hardwired to choose the guy who they think is going to be the one who helps propagate their family the best, who can protect me the best, right? If we go back to our caveman and cavewoman brothers and sisters, the woman, she wanted the guy who could go out there and club the saber-toothed tiger and keep them safe, right? She didn't want the guy who was going to run and go jump in the river. That dude doesn't work, right? And so we think about, and when we think about these archetypal characters, that's the rebel, that's the, right? That's the crusader, that's the bad guy. But then also you've got to be able to balance that with some softness on the side. So yeah, it worked for me, worked well, right? But I got some of what I wanted, which was I got the woman's attention. I got her to go out. I got a chance to get to know her and wherever that went. But on Sunday morning, I woke up still feeling unfulfilled. Whether somebody was in that bed with me or not, I still felt alone. Right. And so now you've got to reshift, right? And now you've got to fall back on who you are and just be honest about it, right? And understand that you're gonna, as you build on that self-esteem, as you work on yourself, ultimately you're going to get to the point where you realize, hey, I'm not really, right? It's not really them. I'm attracting the thing. We don't attract what we want. We attract who we are, right? And as you work on you, and as you work on knowing about your havingness and knowing about your deservingness, now you can start attracting the thing that you really want because they're able to, because you're so comfortable projecting that, she can immediately say, oh, yeah. He's a nice guy, but he got some bad boy stuff going on too. Yeah, I think that's my jam. And so the more comfortable you get with that, then it gets really fun, because now when they're picking you for you, not just for the you they think you are.
And I want to recognize, I know you defaulted to men and women relationships, and but these are the same things that happen.
The feminine, right? We all talking polarity, right? If you're a man, you're a woman, you're trans, you're non-binary, wherever you are on that spectrum, right? There's always, in each dynamic, there's always somebody who's got an abundance of masculine energy, always somebody who's got an abundance of feminine energy. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't be together.
And that energy shows similar traits, is what I'm asking you.
1,000%. 1,000%. I've got my baby sister's psychologist in Michigan. She tells me, and she's lesbian. She's been married for about 15 years. One of the happiest couples I know. She tells me all the time. She's like, Ish, same sex, same problems. It's the same. It's the same. Right.
And she's a psychologist as well, right? family
Yeah.
business. I see y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all ever think about doing some stuff together?
Well, George, that's how I got started. We did do some stuff together. Oh my God, years and years and years ago. We were great therapists, horrible business people. So the business just blew up and exploded and crumbled in front of our faces, to the point, so much so, where I wasn't sure if I was going to even be allowed to continue as a doctor, right?
Wow.
It blew all the way up. So in the 6 months while I was waiting to see what was going to happen, I wrote a book
Called Little White Lies. The guide to the lies that men tell and why. So going back then to that, and here we go. And here you are. Isn't that something?
Right?
Isn't that something?
It's the thing you think is standing in your way is ultimately the thing that's going to help you make your way. That's just what it is.
So I want to get to this, why men. Now, Charlamagne says black men don't cheat, but some do. Okay. So some do. So, but what's interesting is I'm thinking about some of the things you said. And, we've talked in the past about emotional availability and things of that nature. And so going back to cheating, lying, broken trust, no matter who's doing it, right? How do you move? How do you get to healing, if that's even possible? Back to my original question about a couple minutes ago.
Yeah. So it's very possible to rebuild the trust and get past the healing. Now, the truth is 65% of couples will move past a cheat, right? 65%.
65. So that's almost 2/3.
Right. Almost 2/3 of couples will move past it and they will continue on, right? But the ones who are able to navigate that successfully know how to have a conversation on the other side of the cheat, right? So now we've got to get real technical, George, about what exactly happened. Did you cheat or did you have an affair? Right? Because those are two totally different things. A cheat is a one-off. It literally meant nothing. It meant a physical need. You had the urge, you had the impulse, it stroked the ego, whatever the reason was. We didn't have a deep connection. It was physical, went there and did it, and I came on back. An affair is a secret relationship, right? You value that relationship. You hold that relationship dear. And that's why you kept it a secret, because you didn't want it to end. So that's the first piece of information you need. You don't need to know who she was and how many and how long. That don't do you any good. Was it a cheat or was it an affair? First question.
Never broke it down that way. Okay.
Right? Two very different things. One thing you can come back from, the other thing we need to have a really serious conversation about. Second question, are you glad it's over? Right? Because there are some people, once that affair is found out, they are deeply sad and deeply depressed because this was somebody they cared about who they can't see anymore, right? And they're going to have to let go if I'm going to move forward in this relationship with you. So that's a huge question you need asked and answered in a very, very healthy way. Third question, how could you feel with them that you couldn't feel with me? Because nobody cheats for sex. That's just, let's get that right.
Really?
Nobody's cheating for sex.
Stop it. Everybody, that's what people, it is about. Come on now.
No, it's not about sex at all. Look.
See, now I'm starting to question this now.
No.
It's all about sex. In my mind, it's all about sex. I see that. I want that. I'm gonna hit that. Meaning, and I work in domestic violence. That's not the word I want to use.
All right, but we know the vernacular, right?
That's the vernacular, right? And what I should say is, I want to have sex with that person. I
want to have sexual congress with you. Yes.
Yes.
So listen, right? But so listen. It's the old psych saying. Everything is about sex except sex. Sex is just about power, right?
Okay.
And so when you're attracted to somebody, you're attracted. Yeah, I'm attracted because that physically I want to experience that.
Right.
But it's more about how it makes me feel, right?
Right?
Why do I want to buy a Ferrari? I don't want to spend all that money for a Ferrari. but I want to know how it feels to own one.
Mm.
Why do I want the big house? Do I really need 5-6 bedrooms on a hill and paying all this mortgage? Or do I want to know what it feels like to own it?
Mm-hmm.
And do I want to know what it feels like when my neighbors walk out and look at me checking the mail, knowing that I'm that dude, right? Right? It's never about the thing. It's not about the Benz. It's about how the Benz makes you feel, right? It's not about the vagina. We know how vaginas feel. We know how penises feel. It's about how they help you feel inside, right?
Mm.
And so when people cheat, the question is, how did they help you feel? For example, if somebody with more masculinity is cheating, how did that person help you feel over there that you couldn't feel with me? And if guys are honest, they'll say, they helped me feel kind of powerful, right? I kind of felt like a king over there. I felt like I knew things over there. I felt respected over there.
Or they're going to do some things you don't do.
I felt desired, right? I felt like they wanted me. They were more experimental, or they were willing to try stuff to please me, right? Because they helped me feel desired. I felt like I felt sexy over there. Mm-hmm. I don't feel sexy with you, right? They looked at me like they believed in me, and I haven't seen you look at me like that in years. And that's why I was there, right? And so if you can answer those first three questions, now we get to have a real conversation. So now, right, we got the person who cheated and the person who got cheated on. Now the person who cheated, you got some stuff to do, right? And you got right. First of all, you have some apologizing to do sincerely, and then you're going to have to show it through action, not through words, consistently. Okay. But the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is the person who got cheated on, now you got some power too, right? Because it's like a cold. How do you know when you're getting a cold, George?
You got symptoms: runny nose, cough, fever, headache, all that kind of stuff.
You got it. So a cheat or an affair is just a symptom of a bad relationship. That's all it is, right? And it takes two people to be in a bad relationship. Let's be very, very clear about that. We're never blaming the person who got cheated on, but you're a part of a dynamic that wasn't functional, where this person wasn't happy to the point where they looked outside of the union, which tells me the other person wasn't happy either. Right? You weren't happy either. You tried to solve it in a different way. So now the person who got cheated on, you get to ask for some stuff too now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to ask for to make it better for you? Because there was a reason you weren't connected. So now we both get to have some real conversations and some real asks about our needs and wants, because we ain't 20 years old no more, right? So what we were into then, that don't work for us right now. So let's download each other on the new programming, on the new app, and this is what works for me now. Right.
Wow.
Right? And let's see if we're still compatible. Let's see. We may not be.
Is that why long-term couples sometimes break up because they're having that kind of conversation? I mean, I've known a couple of folks who've been in some long-term stuff. Next thing you know, and you thought, well, how did that happen? They look like they were the happiest people, or they showed us that. They showed us that. Right?
My man. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me. I'm getting ready. I want to. You said something about 20s and 30s. So we've got a lot of listeners who might be in their midlife, 40s, 50s, 60s, who still believe in love.
Yeah.
Is it
lovers of a certain age, George?
Lovers of a certain age. Is it really possible to find love in later life? And what should you look out for? And how do you meet that person? Because I know people in my life who, because they would love to be in a relationship. And you've said this before, everything is on the app, but they're not doing that. And so what do you look for? And can you find real love in later life?
You can find it if you believe you're worth it.
Start with that. Right? Because a lot of folk out here, you be, wow, because some people can really pull them, and some people are sitting home.
Right. And so, there's the cycle, right? There's potential, there's belief, there's action, and then there's results. you're going to sit your butt at home taking no action if you don't believe that love is possible, because you don't think that potentially somebody could love you.
I mean, let me add some more fuel to this little fire here we're trying to cook up. So what if you feel like you're too broken, you have too much baggage, or when I say too much baggage, meaning you've been hurt so many times because you seem to attract the same kind of thing that gets you into trouble, and so what's your advice for those folks?
Yeah, so those are the folks who are reaching for the thing that's familiar and not the thing that's functional, right?
Okay.
This is what I've seen. I grow up and right, if I'm a guy, hey, you know what? Every dude I saw my mom date hit her. That's what's familiar to me. So when I'm in a relationship and it doesn't have that level of toxicity, that doesn't feel normal to me. And so I can't stay in it. Right. And so you've got to really have an honest conversation about that, about what your model is. And is it functional or is it just familiar? Right. So that's the first conversation. And then from there, we've all got stuff, right? Some of us, and there's no such thing as mild, moderate, severe, good, but it's not a relative thing, right? Your trauma is your trauma, your experience is your experience, your violation is your violation. You've got to be honest about what that did to you, right? Same thing with an affair. Be honest about what that did to you. How did that hurt you, right? Same. If you've got some patterns that are pathological that you've been tripping over for the last 10 years, 20 years, the last 10 dudes, the 5 dates, whatever that number is for you, then you've got to press pause and really look at what's happening here, right? Because it can't really, is it really all them, George? Is everybody out there really that bad, right? Is every person I pick just an absolute maniac? Or is it something about me that's attracting these maniacs? Right? Is it something about the maniac that I find extraordinarily familiar and I just naturally gravitate towards, right? You got to have, at some point, you've got to be the one to break the cycle and you got to listen to what life is telling you, right? If I'm here alone, there's a reason, right? There's a reason you're choosing that. And so that's the first part. You got to do the work. You got to do the personal work, and you've got to slay those dragons and slay those demons, whatever that looks like for you, right? If it's a trauma, you got to deal with it, right? You've got to face it and deal with what it did to you. And so you can finally move on, right? We get so stuck in that mask and that armor, and we feel so safe behind it. We don't want to set that down because we're a mess behind that. And we don't think that there's anything possible that somebody can go out there and fix and help us do and maneuver and pull us back together. But I promise you they can, right? I promise you they can. And once that happens, now you're ready to get out there and do some healthy stuff. Because here's the truth, George. Here's the thing that people don't want to hear. Unhealthy people are not attracted to healthy people.
Unhealthy people are not attractive to healthy people. I heard you say that. Okay.
Right? Unhealthy people have zero interest in dating healthy people. Zero. So if you're attracting a lunatic, you're attracting maniacs, you're attracting cheaters, you're attracting abusive folks, right? They are unhealthy. And there's a reason why they're attracted to you, because they see the unhealthy part of you. Right? Healthy people are not attracted to unhealthy people. They're just not, right? There's nothing in that for them.
Or let me say it this way. I didn't see it at first.
No, you saw it. No, you did.
Oh, you saying I saw it and didn't.
There's a subconscious part of you that recognized it, whether you were conscious of it.
But I played like I didn't see it. Is that what you're saying?
You may not have been aware, right?
Because that's what I'm saying. Like, right, I thought it was this. I thought it was this, and it turned out to be no.
That's what we say, right? That's the defense.
So you're saying we always really know?
There's a subconscious part of you that recognize the unhealthy subconscious part of you. Recognize the unhealthy, selfish, the unhealthy, toxic part of them, and that's what got you together. Now, it may have taken you 2 weeks, 2 dates, 3 months, 3 years to recognize that and be like, oh, that's not what I thought. But make no mistake, the unhealthy part of both of you is what linked you up.
I got 3 more questions for you, Doc. and I just appreciate the time. I got all this stuff. We got a lot. Of. You're gonna have to come back next month.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, but here we go. First thing is, if you can give our listeners one truth about love that you wish everyone could understand, what would it be?
It's worth it.
It's worth it. That love is worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah. Take the chance.
Take
the chance.
Take that plunge. Even if like you, Neo, and Nick, y'all got crushed still, you say take the plunge?
It's worth it, man. That's what else we got, right? Yeah. The cars go away, the houses go away, the money we spend it, we lose it, whatever happens, right? The clothes we don't carry with us. The only thing we have, right? When I turn around, I look at my dad's flag, right? That's what I got. I got the love he poured into me, man. You know what I mean? I got the love that Robert and Lily had when they were having their 7 kids and they were planning out how that life was going to look for them, right? And they were dreaming and believing. That's the only thing we got. It's what we're here for. And so you've got to, don't be afraid to get hurt. It's going to hurt. You're going to skin your knee. It's okay, because that knee is going to heal, and it's worth it.
It's worth it. All right, Doc, what's next for you? Any new projects or books our audience should be watching for?
And George, now listen, we just started production on something juicy and something big. So I can't tell you what the name of it is yet, right? But just, it's me, so it's shenanigans.
Right. And by the way, folks, this is the made for radio, family.
Yes,
time.
This is the family friendly version.
Family friendly. Ish is a mess. I'm gonna tell you that. This brother is a mess, bro. That dude, he's playing a role right now. Y'all seen him on Match Boot Camp.
Listen.
You messy, man. You are messy.
and George, I own that. I own that messiness. I enjoy the shenanigans. So, man, I can tell you this. It's from the same company that does 90 Day Fiance, the blockbuster hit. They got another one. We're doing a spinoff of that, and it is going to be something else. It's a lot of folks' favorite reality show right now.
Okay.
And you're gonna get to see some of your favorite folks in a whole new way. So hold on, it's coming. And as we say, to be announced before the end of this year, you're gonna have something real fun. You're gonna have a new guilty pleasure.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. And this is gonna be on. Does it have to be purchased by the network, or will it be on WeTV?
It's gonna be on WeTV. You got it.
Okay. Yep. All right. Well, we'll look for it. We'll look for that.
WeTV's got, as they say, we got more for you.
Wow. All right. Lastly, Doc. First of all, we appreciate you coming on. If you could leave us with something that we could tape to the bathroom mirror to repeat in our heads every morning around what would it be? A one-liner, something to affirm all of the things that you said on the program today. What would that be?
I would say to be in tune with the thing that you're really needing for the stage of your life, right? Think about this. When we're kids, the number one thing we want is to feel safe. I want to leave and go, and I want to know mom is going to be there and dad's going to be there and everything's going to be cool, right? We want safety. Teenagers, the number one thing a teenager wants is to be treated fair. Right? If something's unfair, they're going to be out in the streets and they're going to rally against it. If your mom or dad, they're going to let you know that this is not fair and we're going to have issues and we're going to talk about this until it gets fair. But as an adult, the number one thing you want is peace. Right? You want peace on your pillow at night. You want peace in your house. And so nobody's all one thing, and we all cycle back through a lot of those needs. And so whether it's safety, whether it's the need to be treated fairly, which a lot of us are where we are right now, not feeling like this thing that we're in is fair, or whether you're trying to find some peace, right? Decide every morning, what's the thing your soul needs today? What does my spirit need today? Does it need to feel safe? Does it need to feel fair? Or does it need peace? And how do I go about getting that?
All right, so put that in the affirmation then for me. So let's pick one of those things. And what would that look like as I look in the mirror today?
Yeah, so I think the affirmation would be, I'm going to reach for the thing that protects my peace today. Right? What's the thing that protects my peace today?
Mm-hmm.
Is it my relationship? Is it my kids?
Mm.
Is it right? Is it my job? Is it my parents? Is it my friends? Is it my health? Take care of my body. What's the thing that's going to help me protect my peace today? And reach for a little piece of that. Right? That's the thing. And that's going to get you through this next month, these next 6 months, these next 4 years, for sure.
All right, Doc, tell us how to find you. You're on Instagram, giving your daily. He's a mess on Instagram too, by the
way. You know what?
And I say that lovingly.
Lovingly. Oh yes. Listen, George. In the words of ODB, you got to give it to him raw, man. Right? Because we're at a time now where a lot of folks are really ready to hear the truth about some things and about ourselves, which is good. That means we're ready for the next evolution of this thing. So just go to the gram, everybody. Just go to the gram. Dr. Ish Major, Dr_ISH_Major. Look it up. I'm the bald guy in the blue sweatshirt, and follow it. That's me.
Okay. And also listen, go and catch some of these episodes of
go to Amazon Prime right now. Streaming right now.
I said Amazon Apple, right? I meant Amazon Prime.
Well, the podcast is on Apple, but the TV show is on Amazon Prime.
See, I was right. I had half of it right. Yeah.
Oh, it's streaming live. You can stream it right now tonight. Go through all the episodes. It's really good stuff. Like The View, but all guys from a brother's point of view. So it's good.
Black men talking and being emotionally available to one another, which is something that we hope to see more of. And you saw a little bit of that with my boy Ish Major right now. Dr. Ish Major, the America's one of America's favorite psychiatrists, the psychiatrist to the stars, the brother that's shaking it up, and he got something new coming, and we're going to be here for it. And he's coming back. He already said that. If I can catch a brother, he's coming back right here on Inspiration for the Nation. Thank you, Doc. Appreciate you.
Man, appreciate you.